what brings you to this new project?
Well, first, I just want to say thank you for the invitation to be here. I'm so excited to speak with you. It's always great to talk to you. Um, a little brief history on myself. Well, I am from Buffalo, born and raised, and I have been dancing since I was a child. I was a competitive dancer as a kid. I went to this barber school of dance, where I know a lot of
I know
a
Miss
lot of
Cole.
people. Yeah, have gone to Miss Barbara's, and just so much of what you learn about life you can learn from your dance classes. And so I learned so much at that time in my life that is still important to me now. Um,
Mhm.
and after graduating from high school, I took some college courses and in dance, and I didn't think I was going to have a career in dance. So I tried pretty much everything else in college that I could try. Um, Different fields from fashion to um, I believe I was in psychology for a brief second, and I just never found my thing.
Mhm.
And I quit dance classes altogether. Tried to go down a path of professionalism that just didn't work for me, and luckily I found my way back into dance, and
Mm.
coming back to dance through education and finishing my bachelor's at Buff State and then finishing a Master of Fine Arts at UB really helped me find myself again. Because
Okay.
once I lost my connection to dance, I kind of lost a piece of myself because I'm a dancer. It's just at
Yeah.
heart and not professionally. It's just in my heart to move around a lot.
That's
So
me too.
So yeah,
That's
that's basically my history with that. And I just got hired at the African American Cultural Center as the director of modern and contemporary dance. They've been known for traditional African dance, but now we're going to branch out a little bit and study some more and perform some more styles of dance.
great, great. And you're speaking my language, and I think it's a lot of the same, similar history, as far as like, being in dance and then kind of leaving it, coming back, knowing that that's always in our hearts no matter what. And it seems, even though, this is the Peace Center, and I'm the director of the Peace Center, I keep, finding myself just wanting dance and the arts to just be more interconnected with what we do. And it has been, but I just want more of it. I want more. And especially with the expression of of people's hearts in these times of change and social tumult. We need these positive um, outlets to to show what's in our hearts, to show what's inside, how we feel about what's going on in the world today.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really excited about that. And then just recently, you had urban bushwomen come out to the African American Cultural Center, and I really enjoyed that. Um, and as you know, I know one of the young ladies that perform and so on, and I grew up with her, went to school with her, and they were amazing 20 years ago, and they're amazing now. And what I thought was so wonderful. I'm gonna see if I can get them on the show. But what I thought was so wonderful about it is that they look at the climate and again what's going on in the world. What we need to say, what needs to be said, what we want to say,
Mm-hmm.
and then they embody that. So I'm kind of putting a key word here, this embody. And they embody that and they express that through their dance and through their work, their dance work on stage. And can you tell us a little bit about? Do you remember the piece that Shannon Judson was sharing with us with the was it Clayton Powell speech?
I believe so. Yes. What's in your hand? Oh
What? Oh,
boy, that. So, just to give a little bit of background, Urban Bush Women is a dance company founded by a wonderful dancer, Jawole Willa Jo Zala, founded Urban Bush Women, and they do wonderful work that does speak to cultural, social, current climates. and they take really cool sources of influence and inspiration, and it's just they look at places and they look at things that you might not think to use for inspiration in dance, and so they used this this speech, "What's in your hand?" And the whole speech is about, use what you have. What you have is all you need to, get you through or to succeed, right?
Right.
And the piece first, she showed us some of the choreography. I think she I don't remember what the order was, but she showed us some of the choreography. Yeah, and then she had us watch that speech, and then let that speech influence what we had already learned in the choreography, and it meant so much more that second time around. It was a beautiful experience.
Importance of context, the importance of context, to our art, it was just amazing. Just the speech was amazing. I was so moved by that, and I could see, why they were moved, like why it was something was created, from that burst of energy and sincerity from the speech, and I think that's where we're going with this new project with Embodiology, in some ways, where we're taking in the things that we're hearing, seeing, touching, feeling, especially after, the tragedy and massacre of 514, and saying, okay, what do we do with this built up energy within? And how do we heal from this individually and as a community? Can you express a little bit about how you express more so about the event that's happening right now and how you got involved with that?
Oh, okay. After the shooting on May 14th, there's so many wonderful things have come from what we need. That event was tragic and horrific, and I'm glad that we are able to get resolve and resources and try to do things to make things better. And the lovely ladies who came to you, I believe, for Embracing Buffalo, they heard about me and saw some of my work and invited me to participate in some of the programs for Embracing Buffalo. And Dr. Penn, she made a connection between the work that we're doing and, of course, Embodiology, which was founded by Dr. Osama Ray. And I was already very interested in Embodiology, so for her to already know about it and then just share our information and share some of what we had done with Embracing Buffalo with Dr. Ray and invite her to come in. Just the whole process of meeting everyone has been really, really wonderful. So now we are currently working with Dr. Osama Ray and the Embodiology team to bring embodiology to Buffalo. And I want to save the description of embodiology for Dr. Ray. When she gets here, she'll be able to give you so much more information.
Yeah, yeah, I would just read it on the website because it's just like, it's better to be, it's better from, from the Queen's lips than just being read. But from what I gather, she comes from a very ancestral place from within and from, her training and looking at the African diaspora and the very foundation that we see in a lot of whether it's jazz or Dunham technique or Caribbean, Afro-Caribbean, traditional African dance of the multi-rhythms and the soul, the soul connection with the beat of the heart, and the breath, from what I gather, and so she's bringing this out as or she has been teaching this as a form of healing for many communities, for individuals, and groups. So I'm really excited about that. I'm excited about her work here. And yes, so with Embracing Buffalo, that was actually a team of Buffalo and a team from, Center for Mind Body Medicine coming together. We became Embracing Buffalo to work together. And Dr. Penn is a part of that for, that initial team. And so, yeah, we were excited, like, okay, what's our next step? It was like, hey, we gotta, we want people to move some more because in these healing circles, as you came to some of them, and one of our healing circles was at the African American Cultural Center. Dr. Penn and Dr. Sabrina and Jai had us move, had us listen to, music that will, it invoke usually some type of feeling. And it was, some was celebratory, some was meditative, but it was there to move and to move freely. You didn't have to be a dancer. You don't have to be a dancer to do this work and to do this healing work. This is for everybody that has a body to move and feel the healing of movement. So can you explain more about what happens on Saturday? So you started this the last week or the last 2 weeks?
Yeah. So currently Saturdays at 1:00, we have a mindful movement class, which really just allows our participants to experience how they like to move, how you feel comfortable moving. But for a few of the Saturdays in December, we will be having embodiology during that time at 1:00 at the African American Cultural Center. And you don't have to come to the African American Cultural Center. We have a link that you can go to and register, and you can take the classes for free at home. But we did want to provide a space where people can take the class together. But what it is, it's a movement meditation, it's guided movement meditation, and it really just helps you to breathe and just take the time to observe your space, take the time to observe just how you do things. And we can all kind of come together collectively after each portion of the class and express how we're feeling, express what we observe from other people. And I thought it was going to be a dance class or something like a dance class, and it isn't. So I know when people knowing me hear me talk about it, and I'm just like wild and with my movement, and they go, "Oh no, I don't know if I want to take a class that you do." But this isn't that. This really is a class that allows you to do what you're comfortable with doing.
Great.
So our movements that start off simple and allow you to graduate, or excuse me, allow you to decide how far you want your movements to go, what direction you want your movements to go, and what patterns of movement, all of those things that you probably don't think about, ever. This class gives you a chance to really explore your own creativity and just to take the time to do something that isn't going to stress you out. It'll actually
hopefully most people won't stress most people out.
No, it won't stress most people out. You know what I'm saying? It'll allow you to move and to really just be in your body. Yeah.
Well, that's great, and that means that everybody can participate. So whether you're disabled, whether you're a young person, older person, what have you, you can, as long as you can move your head, just move.
Yeah.
If that's what's comfortable, then this class is for you. Okay. Yeah. And I wanted to give a little more information to the audience. So this series is called Joy in Motion of Embodiology. We invite you to join a restorative mind-body movement practice to breathe together and revitalize resilience from the inside out. So make sure you look at our description and tap into the link there. And is that link for the Zoom class or to give more information?
That's to register for 30 days, actually, of free gym classes. So
wonderful.
What gym is, which is JIM, Joy in Motion, that is actually the online version, it's the virtual version of what an embodiology class would actually be. They started the gym classes, out of the pandemic. And so it definitely works. The way that they do the class virtually, it works for the space beautifully. And then there is also an in-class or in-person version of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is the perfect time to do this in the winter. So, of course, we're still dealing with COVID. That's just added into the flu and the cold and the, winter yucks. And a lot of people are staying in. And of course, we were snowed in just a couple of days ago. So this is a perfect time, to do, to do this kind of class where you get to move at home in the comfort of your own space, and feel joy in connecting with people. And we would like to welcome Dr. Carol Penn, and hello, welcome.
Thank you. So glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm so glad you were able to make it out of your busy schedule. I know you're so busy. And I'm so sorry. I'm gonna put myself out there. It was last minute.
Sometimes that's the best way, right? Just spontaneous. So,
yes.
Hello, Jackie.
Hi, Dr. Penn.
Yes. It's exciting to see you both.
Yeah. So if you can introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and your connection to embodiology and Dr. Ray.
Absolutely. So I'm Dr. Carol Penn. I'm doubly board certified in family medicine and obesity medicine. So I'm a practicing medical doctor. I'm also a master movement meditation and mindset coach, and now two-time best-selling author. So proud of my book baby, Meditation in a Time of Madness. And a lot of people just buy it now because of the title. I think they buy it and put it by their bed because it seems like we're living through a very difficult era, a very difficult time in the history of humankind. Before I was a medical doctor, I had a wonderful career as a professional dancer, performer, and choreographer. And so come to this aspect of embodiology and the movement sciences that I am studying and learning and connecting through Dr. S. Amma Ray, who is the founder of Embodiology. And for me, it really brings forward everything that I love about my life as a dancer and my life as a scientist. So to bring this forward as a moving art, a technological art, an art that's based in science and tradition. So bringing all those worlds together for me, and because it is centered in the African diaspora, it has deep, authentic meaning to me. I've been dancing since I was 3 years old and can teach many, many forms of dance, but this is particularly special and meaningful for me. So that's my relationship to Dr. Amma. And interestingly enough, Jackie Cherry and I were supposed to be at the same embodiology training this past summer, and as life would have it, Jackie wasn't able to attend, but I heard about this dancer named Jackie Cherry who danced at the reopening of Tops, and then I meet, and she goes, "I was supposed to be at that training," and it was sort of like, okay, and the rest, as they say, is history. Divine appointment, no brainer. That's easy, and was able to work with Jackie when I was there with the Embracing Buffalo team in August, and have continued to be able to watch these little seeds grow as we're now doing a 4-part embodiology offering in the city of Buffalo, live and through the virtual technologies such as Zoom as well.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful, wonderful. So yeah, I met Dr. Carol. I met you, Dr. Carol, like you said, through the Embracing Buffalo team, and again, going through these healing circles, it was very important to have a connection with professionals of color that could connect. Help us to connect to our own hearts, our souls, our emotions, our minds, without judgment and without reserve. So creating a space for part of that Embracing Buffalo, we were creating space for Black leaders, in the community, and for the, first responders and survivors. But for that time for Black leaders that was, serving, and first responders and so on, that has been a question in the Buffalo community. Do we have, that type of help that, help that looks like us? And so yourself and Dr. Sabrina really brought it. And I was telling my friends, like, you got to come. It's going to be okay. I don't know what kind of space is. I'm not sure if I feel comfortable right now. And I said, it will be okay, and you made us feel so much at home where, we just have two of our aunties, sitting with us and talking with us, and that's how it's supposed to be, where you make people feel comfortable enough to let go and to be taken care of and to take care of each other. So I just want to thank you again for helping provide space, making space for that to happen, and hence embodiology. So this is a continuation of creating this space, because the space has to be created. It has to be intentional, so that we make sure that we have it, have access to it. So yeah, so that's my connection with Dr. Carol and with Jackie. Did we meet only? We met before Embracing Buffalo, didn't we? Or was it during Embracing Buffalo?
It was during.
It was during Embracing Buffalo. Okay. I thought it was a little bit before, but I can't remember. Yeah, maybe that's all it is. This year has been something else. It's like I just saw someone today. I just said, "How we know each other?" You know, you just see each other in the same circle, in the same, energy. You're you're in the same community, and but you have yet to talk to each other and to connect. So, but thank you, you two for coming on, and hopefully we'll have Dr. Ray on with us before we end today. But we know she's pretty busy, and hopefully we can squeeze her in if she has time. So yeah, going back to looking at what from your professional opinion, Dr. Carol, what does movement do for stress and for trauma? Because we're looking at we're doing all this because after May 14th. So, why not just sit and talk about it and have, these, support groups? Like, why movement? What does it do for the body in this situation?
Well, it's very interesting that we're framing the conversation from this point of view. One of the things that movement can do for the body is that it can get behind the gatekeeper of the ego and the frontal lobes. So up here in these frontal lobes, we think and we judge and we make up stories about whatever's happening in our life, which is as it should be, because, we need to be able to get from point A to point B, and we need to be able to move through the world. And that's the job of those physical structures in the brain to do that. And we can end up creating powerful stories of defense that literally keep us locked in, where we can't even tell the truth to ourselves because we've got it so layered in the ego mind, and so layered in the frontal lobes, which is a protective device. It's a survival mechanism. However, we do know that absolutely everything that we think, everything that we say, so everything going out of us and then everything coming into us, the body registers that and holds on to it someplace. So case in point, lower back pain is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And we can take X-ray after X-ray after X-ray, and the vast majority of those X-rays come back normal. Yet and still we know the person that's in front, they're not lying. They are having that pain. You can put them through a range of physical motion tests, and they have limited range of motion. We're touching the area where they say they have pain, and they are in pain. Yet the diagnostic imaging comes back perfectly normal. The other thing that's very fascinating is, again, billions of dollars are spent on back surgeries. So we fuse the neck, we fuse the mid back, we fuse the lower back, and about statistically 1/3 of those patients will go through the surgery, and 1/3 of them will get better, regardless of what the imaging says. They have now done something structurally, and the person will say, okay, I'm healed, I'm recuperated, my pain is dissipated, pain is better. Another 1/3 will stay the same as if they've had no intervention. So they still have their pain, even though they've gone through their surgery. And another 1/3 will actually get worse. So that's 2/3 of people who go to that far end, that extreme route of having surgery. 2/3 of them will stay the same or get worse. So again, what does that tell you about what's going on. And we're not talking about the small percentage of folks that might be hypochondriacs and, there really is nothing wrong. But these are people, they miss work because of it. They leave their careers and go out on disability because of it. And that's because these are all these unaddressed issues where the body says, well, I got to do something with this stress, so I'm going to hide it somewhere. And a common place to hide it is in the lower back. And oftentimes in yoga or Ayurvedic medicine, we call that the psychic knot. And if you can get at the deep-seated emotions that are really what that pain is about, often the pain will go away. And I just happened to have in my lap, because I was just in this conversation, a book that if people want to look more into, and I see Jackie nodding her head, it's called The Body Keeps the Score, Brain, Mind, and Body in the Healing of Trauma by Bessel van der Kolk, MD. And it's actually a very good book that goes all into the science and the brain, body, mind, spirit connection as it relates to trauma and how we can heal from trauma. So it is also very interesting that in the African wisdom traditions, a big part of healing is expressive. It is through moving the body. And a lot of phraseology in multiple African languages has to do with asking, like we will say, how are you? They'll say, well, how are you moving today? How is your body expressing itself today? And, meaning that if you're out of rhythm, if you're in pain, then in fact, you aren't well, you aren't in alignment, and that's to be paid attention to. And that is huge when it comes to healing. And I think it's very, very important, particularly to persons of the African diaspora. We're often a kinesthetic people. We're often a multi-rhythmic people. One part of our body could be doing something else and keeping the rhythm, and another part of our body is all in the lyric and the flow. And it's just, we're fascinating to watch physically. And, look at the sports world, look at the performance worlds. We're, legendary in that. So, this is a long way of answering that question, but there is no true healing for people of the African diaspora without movement.
Wow. Wow. Because I'm glad that you said that. That's what we were talking about earlier. I didn't say it as quite as eloquently as that, but the multi rhythms, and the beat of the beat of the drum to me is the same as the beat of the heart, and that connection. While the heart is beating on its own rhythm, we're moving, we're talking, like we're already multitasking, but it's all in sync. And how we need that. We need connection to that. Mm-hmm. So I really appreciate the Embodiology team. Now we have an Embodiology team that is in Buffalo now, helping provide that space to connect with one another and to connect to your breath and this natural movement that we have, and hopefully to release this trauma, to release the stress, to release it from our bodies, because those turn into what Dr. Carol turned into back pain you was talking about. What about heart disease? Does it turn into things like that?
It absolutely. So it can manifest itself in any number of disease processes. So stress induces inflammation, and inflammation can show up as arthritis. It can show up as hardening of the arteries and coronary artery disease. It can show up as diabetes, it could show up as cancer, it could show up as obesity, you name it, it'll show up. And those chronic illnesses that are killing us, that are causing many, many, many people to die prematurely. And now we even see things like colon cancer, which we didn't even screen for that until a person was 50 years old, first screening. Now we've had to drop that initial screening down to 45, and we're probably going to drop it down to 40 because we have just had such a plethora of young people developing colon cancer.
Wow.
And so what is that about? And what are those levels of stress that the body is carrying that's becoming so inflammatory that it's just this explosion, this plethora of chronic illness across all ages. And then it becomes particularly alarming when you start seeing diseases that, usually, you only see that in this age group or above. Well, when you start seeing it in younger people, you need to pay attention. Even this proliferation of RSV, or respiratory syncytial virus, that's going around. Well, that's something that I studied in medical school, and you do see it in the colder months, and you do tend to see it in young children in the colder months. And I'm talking January, February. Never before have we seen it in such numbers so early in the year and in so many kids that the pediatric departments all across the country have become overwhelmed. And the other thing now, older adults are more vulnerable to getting RSV as well, population 65 and older. And we're seeing it in unprecedented numbers in adults younger than 65 as well. Annually, RSV kills about 14,000 adults a year. And it's just a quiet little statistic that, most people don't know, but it is one of the winter viruses that kills about 14,000 adults every year. So, what's going on? What is going on?
Help with that. Even with respiratory diseases, how can movement help with that?
Well, one of the things is our lungs function because they move. The actual structure in our lungs that allows for air movement looks like a grape, and they're called alveoli. They're grape-like sacs. And it's these grapes that inflate and contract that carry the air. So it's really fascinating. So there's the container in the shape of the lungs themselves, and then the lungs are filled with these grape-like structures. And one of the things, if you're hospitalized or even at home in bed sick and you're lying down all the time, you become much more vulnerable to pneumonia because you're crushing these little grape-like sacs, and they're not expanding and moving the way they're supposed to expand and move with every breath. So even the act of making sure a person who is bedridden for any reason, even in bed for a few days with a cold, you get them sitting up. You want them changing positions. In other words, you want them moving. So something as vitally important to your ability to live, your lungs are able to do what they need to do. The lungs themselves are moving, and the alveoli, the grape-like structures inside the lungs, which are actually what carries your oxygen and where the oxygen takes place deep in the capillary beds that line them, are actually able to move.
So I would say, hence, again, going back to the embodiology classes, because from what I see, it's a lot of deep breath work, at least in the beginning. You're practicing moving your lungs probably more, or in a way that we are not used to, in order to get the most out of our oxygen, and air. Am I correct?
That's absolutely correct. And the other thing that's really, and again, I don't know how, in ancient wisdom traditions, these people were brilliant. They had so much of this figured out. So in particularly like in Western African culture, you see the breath, you see the movement, you see the expansion of the arms. Whenever we lift our arms, that also further expands our lungs. So dynamic, so important to life. In Ayurvedic medicine, with the different breathing practices that come out of ancient India, again, this emphasis on, getting the breath deep into the body, having the full excursion of the lungs. And then out of Chinese medicine, the lungs are where we balance grief and empathy. So the lungs are where we carry our grief in our bodies, but it's also where we carry our empathy. And so to be able to cultivate that with the breath, the balancing of that, those emotions, both of those emotions are very important to the quality of life for what it means to be human.
Wow.
I see Dr. Ahmad joining us.
Welcome, Dr. Ray. How are you?
Good. Just hot out of another meeting, but happy to be here.
Right on time, right on time. Thank you so much for coming on Talking Peace. This radio show is Talking Peace with the Western New York Peace Center. And I'm just so glad you're able to make it. And I know, like you too, I know you've been busy, you've been working until now, you're still working with us. And I appreciate your time so much. So welcome, Dr. Ray.
Thank you. Thank you. So happy to be here, really.
Good. So, yes, can you introduce yourself and how you began Embodiology, and what you hope that it will do for the people of Buffalo? And of course, you have other communities on Zoom as well. What do you hope, for Embodiology to do for them?
Well, thank you. So my name is S. Amaray. I am a professor of dance at the University of California, Irvine. So I'm on the other coast here. As you can perhaps detect, I am not from the United States. I am from the UK, but I am now a United States citizen. So I am American now. Yes.
Congratulations.
And with that comes a responsibility, a consciousness of what am I bringing to make a difference to the country that I am now calling my home. And Embodiology is a movement-based methodology that strengthens human endeavors. It enables individuals to build a richer, more dynamic iteration of their life force, right? We are all living, we're all alive, we're all doing what we're doing, but there's degrees to which we are conscious of what we're doing and how we're doing it. And Embodiology is a practice that brings together ways in which people of African descent have always understood community, have always understood how we interact in spaces where we use music and movement as a mode of communication. And so what I've done is been able to isolate and identify what those structures are that are within our movement and music practices that have actually given us all of the resilience that we have as peoples. We may think of our resilience as spiritual and invested through a spiritual practice that we may undertake, and that is part of it, but it actually comes from our physical lived sensibility of being in the world as a living, breathing entity. And Embodiology takes time for us firstly to slow down and reconnect with our senses. We go through the world in a hurry to just get the thing done, what we need done. And we lose connection with what it is that we are feeling that's connected to our sensory body. and our senses connect our thinking. So how we are moving impacts how we think. And we've been seduced to believe that thinking is something that happens only in our heads. But thinking is the product of how we move through the world, how we physically engage in the world, how our entire being is formed and is in motion. So how the quality through which you move impacts how you think and impacts the possibility or the lack of possibility. So when we're talking about change within a community, we're talking about agency, self-efficacy, collaboration. How do you do those things together when you've been socialized and the environment around you has given you the idea that you are an independent soul, a soul entity, that only what you do matters, when in fact in order to move things effectively, not only do we have to work as groups, but we get things done. We are able to flourish. We are able to be energized and magnify possibility when we are engaged as a dynamic group. We are because there is another, not because I independently exist. That is not an understanding of what human life is for. We are here in cohabitation and in collaboration with others. And so in embodiology, we remove language to begin with. So we're not using words, we're using movement, we're using rhythm, we're using interaction. Words and language come into the process later on, but we really start with this place of engaging breath, rhythm, and connection.
Wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And it's interesting you say, as far as this togetherness. So can a person do or participate in an embodiology classes without being connected on Zoom or in person? Like, can they, deal with some of these principles on their own, or should they always try to connect with someone else?
Yes, they can, because part of what we're doing is awakening our senses. As I was mentioning earlier, we walk around pretty much dulled and only responding to certain types of stimuli. And we're much more sophisticated human beings that can be awoken to the power, the beauty, the essence when we slow down. So we take in this process of slowing down and engaging our senses in a dedicated way. And this is a practice that you can do by yourself, a process of noticing and creating layers of awareness. And that is part of the practice and something that we actually guide participants to do. And then suddenly we notice that the world isn't as dull or unidimensional, that it's much more dimensional, has much more possibility, there's much more color, there's much more opportunity, right? So we start to be able to scale difference and shift with, again, very in the beginning, quite intentionally slowed down connection with our sensing sets, our sets of our senses, and even open our imagination, right? For things to change, we have to imagine different. Somebody also, we have to remember that somebody imagined things being just the way they are in order for us to land here. That was the product of other people's imagination. So in order to shift things, we have to also connect with our imagination as a real sense, just like I can touch this bottle, but I can open my imagination and I can dwell there and imagine the change that I want to be part of shaping. And that is
Yeah.
a set of skills that we have to enliven and awaken and practice.
Mm. Wow. I think that's one of the keys that you mentioned as we're coming to a close, that at the end of this journey, which is still a journey, it's not necessarily the end, but after these 4 weeks, or weeks in December with the Embodiology team, we want our community to be alive and awakened to a new vision. We want to connect. Is that what you're trying to do? Making sure that we kind of, like, we've been through this tragedy, we've been through this horror, instead of sitting in it, as Dr. Carol was talking about, and creating more disease because of our trauma. Now we're releasing and starting to create new vision for our community.
Yes, yes, we are planning our program in Buffalo, so we'll be coming in 2023 to work with Jacqueline Lynn at the African American Cultural Center to build a program there, which will lead to the community having access to this social cohesion technology, and leaders such as Jacqueline to really learn and understand this methodology, to then be able to teach it and build it out into the community. So my hope, and I can very much touch it and feel it, because this work, it impacts, it's consistent. So it's not a speculation here. And in the sense that we will be supporting the community to nurture its own teachers, its own practitioners, so that the work can then ripple out. And for Buffalo to be a beacon in the United States for transformation, and that embodiology will be part of that transformational piece and that story that we will tell the rest of the world.
Wow. Well, I'm excited about it. I hope to come again and actually do a full class with you, at least one. I came in and visited, like I came through. I'm going to come through. I literally came through and went out the other way. But I do hope to experience that and to be more a part of the classes coming up. So I'm going to just reiterate, we have Joy in Motion of Embodiology on Saturdays at 1 p.m. at the African American Cultural Center at 350 Maston Avenue in the heart of Buffalo, New York. And don't miss it. Dr. Ray is, you lead every single one of these classes, Dr. Ray, or do you have a team that do different?
So I have a team of teachers that are in the throes of matriculating and so excited. They will also be teaching some of the classes. In Buffalo, I'll be teaching, I'll be there, and very much part of the detail of developing the structures. Dr. Carol Penn will also be there and be part of that as well. So I think the important thing is to say that this work generates a lot of energy and joy and possibility.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. Wonderful. And for more information, Jackie, can you give us the website for more information?
Yes, actually, you can certainly go to embodiology.com. That is where you'll get as much information as possible. You can certainly come to aaccbuffalo.org for some more information about the local classes and schedules. We are also available on our Facebook page, and our information for AACC Buffalo is also available on Instagram. So there are plenty of places to find us.
Great. No, it's wonderful. And can we have a last, if you have a last word or, just a last thought that you want to leave the audience? And let's start with Jackie.
I just want to say I believe that this work is very important. It's impactful, as Dr. Ray just said, and we all can come together and really make some wonderful things happen for our community. So let's get going.
That's right. Dr. Carol?
I would have to say that I almost want to promise you that if you step into this, if you give yourself over to this process, if you experience this work, it'll save your life, it'll transform your life, it'll allow you to become the change that you want to see in the world in a place beyond words. Language falls short of where we need to go as a people, as a community, and this will evolve your consciousness toward the best and highest in yourself. And when that occurs, we will be able to build the new world, the world that we want to live in, that we can thrive in. This is the value of this work. This is what, it's like the minute I met I said, oh, no. This sister cannot remain an army of one. By hook or by crook, I don't know how it's going to happen, but we're going to bring this throughout the entire world. So I'm just asking the people of Buffalo, wherever you have to do this, in your living room, at the African American Cultural Center, in your church, wherever it is, that you got, just be too dumb to doubt. Just do it, and your life will change, and the world will change.
That's right. And Dr. Ray?
I will just echo and say that I'm waiting to meet you. I am waiting to be part of your journey. And this technology comes to us from our ancestors. It doesn't come through me as something that I just created. It is a technology that has been with us forever. And sharing it with you and with the community is going to be the game changer. The game changer. We are that confident because it is us.
Yes. Yes.
And a lot of us has been hidden because it's been cloaked in other things that make access for other people. This is us. And you will shine as a result.
Well, wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm just sucking it all in, just taking it all in, getting my meat for the evening. And I really appreciate everyone coming out. Thank you, Jackie Cherry. Thank you, Dr. Carol Penn. Thank you, Dr. F. Amaray, for coming on Talking Peace with us today. And you have now been listening to Talking Peace. We'd like to thank our producer, Richard Wicca of Think Twice Radio. You can find our videos on thinktwiceradio.com. And thank you, WBNY 91.3 FM, for our show today. So until next time, peace, love, and solidarity. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much. Please get some rest.
Peace and blessings.
Blessings. Thank you. Okay, so thank you all for listening to Talking Peace, and we'll talk to you soon. And make sure you send us any questions or comments that you have on our Facebook.